Well, Dave, it seems to be becoming a common discussion this every couple of years just now about making a video.
I know, we were the first ones to do it. I think it's really cool.
We were. I think and people really enjoy them. And so I wanted this to sort of do an interview now with you because you're re-standing for council.
Yeah.
We've been through a really traumatic events within the RCN over pay and a lot of structural issues within the RCN, and there's a lot of debate about whether previous council members or this council should re-stand again. So what I want to do is give you the opportunity to talk to the people who are going to vote for you, or your electorate out in the northwest, and give you an opportunity to tell them about your role. So
brilliant. Yeah, no, happy to.
The first question I'm going to ask is, describe your role on council just now, and give me one example of a change that you've made. Okay,
so I'm the Northwest Council member, and I also chair the Northwest Board. So obviously in the region, that means that I tend to be very heavily involved in most of the strategy and the operational support, supporting the branches in conjunction with the regional staff and the rest of the board. In terms of council, I'm also the Nurse Honorary Treasurer, so I look after the finance, chair the Finance Investment Committee. So I've got quite a big portfolio. And if I had to give, I'd probably give two examples. I think when we got rid of the historic funding a few years ago, I pushed for that to be allocated at a regional level on an ongoing basis, and also to give a lot of flexibility. So what we've done in the Northwest is we have about 25 grand a year, and about a third of it we keep at a regional level for things the regional board wants to do, and about 2/3 at branch level. And what that's meant is we've had a lot of events where branches have got together, we've done a lot of local learning activities, and I wanted to stop this pattern that often happens where someone says, I want to do this thing but there's no money, when actually there is money, there's a pot of money. And on the back of that, we're trying a number of new initiatives, like funding people to go to branch meetings, which has never happened, and we're piloting it. So I'm a big believer in devolving decision making as close to the front as you possibly can, giving branches more autonomy, boards more autonomy. And so that's something I've been doing at council level and at the board.
Okay. I know you've recently published a manifesto.
Yeah.
And the first part of my question is,
okay,
because it comes in two parts, of course.
Right.
The first part of the question is this: your manifesto is radically different to how other people traditionally competed for council roles have written it. In fact, my view has always been it's like reading somebody's CV.
Yeah.
So why did you write the manifesto the way that you did?
Okay, well, hopefully, and what I might try and do is put a link on the video so people can look at it. I've been thinking about this a while, because I stood for council in the 90s as a student member of council, and I stood in 2013. And one of the things I think we've moved, certainly in the last decade, towards more and more people doing a CV. So I've done this job, I've worked in this area, vote for me. And I think a legitimate question is, well, why? What are you going to do that's different? And you see it in politics. I mean, you don't get parties stand up and go, well, this is what we want to do about education and health and housing. If you like these ideas, vote for us. And I wanted to introduce more of that. So you're right, it's a very different manifesto. And what I'm basically saying is, look, here's my vision of what I think council needs to do around engaging more stewards, around increasing openness, transparency. So I think it's healthier, because I think at the end of the day, people don't just want to vote for people and go, well, you seem nice, or you've worked in this area, or your CV's good. They go, well, what are you going to do that's different? I think one of the challenges is it is a team game. So if I'm lucky enough to get on council next year, there's going to be 17 of us. Now, I've got my ideas. I'd like to see more other candidates publishing the manifestos so that you can see where they start lining up and where we're really saying what we're going to do different.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
And this election, I think, is going to be very much about manifestos. It's about values as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge change in the RCN.
Yeah.
And we will have a new chief exec.
Yeah.
And whatever that new chief exec is going to do when they're in post, we don't know. So I'm going to just question you about some of the manifesto points that you've written. and the one that I'm interested in, because I'm a steward and I'm a safety rep, and I've always been one of them, is that you've made a commitment to recruit up to 5,000 reps, and in order to do that, we have to offer something back to them. So, do you want to just talk us?
I think we've. I first became a steward in 1991, I think, in the days of student nurses could be. So I did my training, I was accredited through a lot of the 90s. When my career moved more into management, that wasn't appropriate. But I've always felt that trade unions, the heart of the backbone of it is around your accredited reps, around your safety reps, your stewards and your learning reps. And we've got, I think, about 1,200, 1,300 stewards in the country, and I don't think that's enough, and I think we need to get more, and every trade union is struggling with this. Every trade union says they want more, and I think we need to do much more radical work. So I've got a number of ideas, but I think we need to up our ambition, and I think we should say, do you know what, until we get 5,000 reps, we're not stopping, we're pushing, and I think we can do it. I think we need to look at retention, because we're losing people, and I go to branch meetings where you get people who are accredited, they've done the training, and then they're like, oh, we're discrediting them because they've not turned up, whatever. We don't try and get them back. I think recruitment would help, and one of the things I've said is I think we should offer free membership for 3 years to all accredited reps, because I think it won't solve everything, but I think it will help, and it's an investment. I think we need to look at the training and the support and give stewards the tools they need to do the job. One of the things that annoys me is we spent a lot of money on computer systems, but if I'm a steward in a hospital, I can't be given a list that says, here's all your members, here's where they are by departments, and go and talk to them. So instead of being a faceless organisation, you can go, well look, there's Bob and Janet on intensive care. Oh, hang on a minute, it's not got Sally. I know Sally's an RCN steward. Or they don't work there, they work in this department. I think for us to do campaigns, it's got to be less about the centre driving it and about having local people on the ground with local relationships and giving them the tools to do the job.
Okay. Next point. Create a 60% turnout on elections.
Yeah, I think this has been a bugbear of mine for a long time. The RCN's never been amazing at it. But I can remember in the 90s we used to get 20-25% turnout. Things like presidential elections we used to get. Council elections, indicative ballots. Now, council elections are in the single figures. I think at my last election, I think I got about 4.5%. Most council members got about 6%. President elections low. And where it becomes really dangerous is you look at the indicative ballot. So we went out to the members on pensions, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? And we said, would you support industrial action? 85% of members said yes, they would, on a 16% turnout, and especially with the Tories have introduced legislative requirements, you need to get 50% turnout. Nobody believes the RCN could ever get a 50% turnout. I don't think any of the staff in the RCN believe it. I don't think council believe it. I don't think Trade Union Committee believes it. And yet there are organisations around the world who've done it. You look at America, you look at New Zealand, you look at Australia, look at the BMA, look at the train unions. I think we could learn a lot and go, it's not okay anymore just to say most members don't vote. We need to do something about it. We're never going to get everyone, but I think we should aim for a 6% turnout, and we should get 6% turnout in everything. Council elections, president elections, indicative ballots, industrial action ballots, so that the government and organisations know, do you know what? The reason the RCN isn't doing industrial action is because it's choosing not to, not because it knows it couldn't deliver it.